How is it possible for a nobody like me, starting with zero following on social media, end up impacting over 100,000 students' lives positively in the last year? So traditional one-on-one tutoring takes 1 hour to coach one student. Even if I've tutored 10 hours each day, it would have taken me 27 years to coach 100,000 students, meaning I needed to start when I was 1 year old. So how did I go from phase 1, coaching 10 students each year, to phase 2, coaching 100 students each year, then phase 3, 1,000 students each year, and then phase 4, I tutored 100,000 students last year? Hi, my name is Hugo. I'm a study performance coach, a doctor, and ex-pharmacist based in New Zealand. When I don't talk about study tips, I share useful real-life skills that school have forgotten to teach us. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about ideas on how to increase your productivity so you too can share your knowledge and have your message heard and impact other people's lives for the better. So phase 1, which is tutoring 10 students per year, one-on-one tutoring. So it all started when I was back in final year of pharmacy school. As you know, throughout high school, my grades weren't the best at all despite me putting in my best efforts. So when I had the chance to get into pharmacy school, I had to find ways to study more efficiently and get those top grades to get into medicine. And once I found out I got into medicine in my final year in pharmacy school, I was of course very relieved and immediately started thinking what I should do with my spare time. I always enjoyed the notion of teaching, so naturally I was geared towards thinking of doing a one-on-one tutoring. As I progressed through pharmacy school, the students from below years also knew that I was achieving good grades and wanted to seek tuition from me. And I didn't start tuition initially early years in my pharmacy school because I wanted to focus all my efforts to get those best grades I can to build up my CV to get into medicine. And once I got this good news that I got into medicine, I decided to contact those students who reached out to me before, and this is how I started my education journey. This was when I started off coaching 10 students per year, each having recurrent tutoring sessions each week. Initially, I enjoyed doing these one-on-one tutoring sessions. However, I soon realized that I can only help so many students each day, and my schedule will be quite full even if I free up a lot of time from my studies. Now this was when I gradually transitioned into phase 2. Then phase 2 was coaching 100 students per year, which was my online question bank intern prep. So in order to qualify as a pharmacist, we needed to complete this 4-year undergraduate degree with 1 year of full-time work and study as an intern pharmacist after that. You also had to complete your 1-year internship pharmacist training year within 2 years of finishing your undergraduate degree. So now I had a choice to make, either to start my medical school straight away after my 4 years of study. This means that I'll never be able to complete my full pharmacy training and never become a registered pharmacist, or to defer my medical school for 1 year and complete this 1 year of full-time intern pharmacy training to become this fully fledged pharmacist. And having completed pharmacy, only just getting the hang of studying and needing to work really hard to finish pharmacy school, I knew that medical school was going to be even more challenging, and I generally had a thought that I would not be smart enough for med school and actually get kicked out halfway through it. And I'm a super risk adverse person, so just in the case that I didn't like med school or didn't make it through at all, I decided to defer my med school and dedicate this 1 year to get registered as a pharmacist. So at least further down the line I would have a job and not be homeless later if they found out that I wasn't as smart as other med students. So during this intern pharmacist training year, it was actually quite full on. There was this full-time work, and then there was additional assignments and studies that I needed to complete my pharmacy internship training. So a lot of my one-on-one tutoring got cancelled because of this. I was a bit baffled by this, but I always enjoyed teaching and I knew that I have this on my mind at all times. So in this year of my pharmacy internship training, there was a new high-stakes written exam that was introduced. In order to become a fully registered pharmacist, you would need to pass this written exam before you can sit the final oral clinical exam. And everyone was terrified because it was completely new and the Pharmacy Council did not give us much guidance on how to study for this exam. As I researched further into how to study for this exam, I realized this was actually modeled from the Australian Pharmacy Council's exam. Immediately, I opened up this whole new light of hope for the whole cohort and actually started sharing useful tips and preparation guides for my fellow students. And in the end, I managed to achieve a very high mark and also helped many of my other fellow colleagues pass this exam with ease. Now, having so much success from this cohort, I decided to permanently freeze this knowledge in time and actually develop the study system for the exam. So spending a few hours each day after work, I developed a question bank with thousands of questions, written guides, and practical guides to navigate high-yield reference books. Instead of trying to pass this onto the cohort one person by one person, I found a developer who actually developed this website for me and managed to actually get over 90% of the pharmacy whole cohort to join each year to sign up for this program. Now this system worked so well that anyone who joined had a guarantee that if they didn't pass, they will get a full refund back. And 98% of students who actually took up the study system ended up passing, so it turned out very well indeed. And this was how I managed to coach over 100 students every year after developing this website. And after a few years, the Pharmacy Council realized that this exam actually didn't add too much to the intern pharmacy pharmacist training experience, so it decided to remove the exam, so we also decided to take this website down as well. So all good things had to come to an end, but again, this thought of coaching and teaching never stopped inside my head. And this moved on to phase 3, which is coaching 1,000 students per year, which is my online tutorial program. And this led on to phase 3, which was in my medical school. In my final year of my medical school in Australia, we had to complete a final barrier to our graduation, which is called the OSCEs, the Objective Structured Clinical Examination. And this was yet another high stakes exam, because if you didn't pass this exam, you wouldn't qualify to become a fully fledged doctor. And a lot of students do end up failing because the exam itself was really difficult. In the exam itself, we had 10 minutes in each station. Now each station would be a case in a particular specialty like pediatrics, which is children's medicine, or oncology, which is cancer medicine. And each specialty can have knowledge that you need to study separately for 5 to 10 years to be well prepared for each of these stations. So statistically, the odds are really not in our favor sitting this exam. So having this grueling experience of a specialist doctor assessing us young naive doctors trying to give good advice to this mock patient is really hard, because they themselves have focused on their specialty for decades. So how did I tackle this exam? In that final year, I got into a very good study group, with each of us end up getting top 10% of the cohort, and we also had our valedictorian within our study group, which was great because we were able to study with the best of the best. We developed great study culture, always being focused and productive for every single hour that we scheduled for our study, and we kept each other accountable and prepare and teach topics that we were weakest at. So we become fully versed and improve our knowledge significantly every single week. We started our preparation very early and had focused practice OSCE clinical mock exams covering high-yield topics every single week. We found that the main problems for students that are failing were down to 3 main things. So the number one was their mindset, basically how they conduct their study preparation, how they run study groups, and the attitude when they were actually attending these practice exams every week. And number 2 was their study methods, having well prepared, concise notes to refer to promptly instead of scrambling through 10 textbooks and 100 Google websites. Also, most importantly, having great mock scenarios to practice each week. So the resources passed on from senior years were contributed by everyone. So it ranged from past top students to average students all the way to failing students. So the quality of these practice scenarios varied way too much, and it actually didn't represent the actual exam itself. And number 3 is actually the action. This is being kept accountable, starting early and practicing regularly, so the exam itself becomes a natural walk in the park. We've also devised a system to tackle all 3 of these common errors and ended up doing very well for our OSCEs exam. Again, we decided to freeze our knowledge in time before the memory decay curve acts against us and all of this pristine knowledge is lost. And once again, after a few hours each day over summer and during medical school, I created this website called OSCE's Framework and managed to pass on our success mindset, methods, and keys to take action to ace this OSCE's exam. This is where in our first year, over 300 students joined, then later grown over to 1,500 student doctors all around Australia and New Zealand, and increasing each year. I had such great feedback from student doctors who have joined our program, and I'm so glad that I've taken this effort to freeze our knowledge in time and continually to help other students year after year. And this led on to phase 4, which is coaching 100,000 plus students each year, my Study Smarter Academy. Now this led on to my current stage, which is phase 4. My goal in life is always to positively impact as many students as possible. And at this stage, I had so much study knowledge that I wish to pass on. My own 15-year study journey of being a CDE high school student, working hard but achieving bad grades, to getting this top 10% in both pharmacy and medicine, and being able to free up so much time to help thousands of other students every single year. And initially, I tried to post these tips in my own Facebook page, my Instagram page of about 100 family and friends, but the message actually isn't getting out there, which means that I'm actually not helping that many students as I wish. And later I invested into a mentorship program and learned more on how I could get my message out there sustainably. So instead of waiting for students to actually find me on Google or hear the word of mouth from my past students on my online programs like the OSCE's Framework, what if I could be proactive and actually reach out to those who could potentially benefit from my message? So I condensed top tips to study more efficiently and sustainably develop a better mindset and personal growth all into a 1-hour webinar. Initially, I tested this out with my own students, and many of their lives changed because they began to see things differently and decided to act differently, producing much better results in less time. They were able to improve their grades and able to free up so much more time to enjoy their hobbies and spend more time with friends as well. I knew this message needed to reach to more people because of the impact it could make to those who decided to take this in and do something with this knowledge. I then spent some money to try advertising this on social media so people could know the existence of this webinar that could change their lives for good. And I received so much positive feedback from students attending this free webinar and how their lives have changed since attending this hour-long webinar. But later I realized that this wasn't sustainable because I was spending my own money spreading this message and it was limited. Now this campaign would quickly come to an end if I don't quickly find a solution to replenish this cost of advertising. And this is where I created Study Smarter Academy, where I condensed my own study knowledge, a mindset of effective students, evidence-based study techniques, proven memory techniques, and also effective exam techniques. All of these study and learning methods that should have been taught by our education system, but somehow they forgot to teach us these skills. By having this program where students could join me so I can personally keep them accountable to implement all this knowledge, together with a supportive community, we have a lot of high achievers setting high standards, including students from Harvard and Yale that have joined us. All of this created an almost inevitable formula for success if a student decides to do the work as I suggested in my program. Then for those who feel like that they need my personal assistance and actually joined me, this provided funding to advertise and reach even more students, and this became a snowball effect. Initially, with my own money, I was only able to reach dozens of students each day. But later, it was hundreds, and in the end, it was tens of thousands each and every single day. And having a look at just one of the advertising platforms, we were able to reach over 6 million students, and we had over 100,000 students interested enough to attend this 1-hour free webinar that ended up producing so much positive impact and hearing so many success stories just after 60 minutes. I've also included a link below for our latest webinar if you are interested as well. So this loop keeps on running sustainably, and I'm really happy that we're able to create such great impact starting out from 0 followers on social media at all. And I just wish to say, if you also have a message that you wish to share to the world, and as Ali Abdul says, everything is figure outable, and the first step is actually to just start Googling, or even better, invest in a mentor that can take you through efficient steps and avoid so many painstaking, time-consuming mistakes. And if you are into personal development, I've created this playlist specifically for you as I continue to share useful real-life skills that school forgot to teach us. I hope this mini lesson was helpful for you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.